Yo, what's up? Welcome to the Dissection, a Numbers with H. series where we're dissecting the numerology behind some of your favorite artists and musicians. I'm your host, H. conglomerated numerologist and astrologer, but you already know, call me Ace. And in this episode, we're dissecting the numerology behind Lakewude, not only the most recent drop Kirkwude, but also the popular EP, The Lake Show. So if you're liking what you're hearing, make sure you share it on your socials and tag me at YourSoLab or at Numbers with H. on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. And head over to YourSoLaboratory.com for the interactive blog post or pull up on YouTube because we live. We're very excited to be here. Thank you for having me. But all the direct links are in the description / comment section of this video. But let's go ahead and get into it. So Lakewude, an artist, I want to say, I think he's from Tennessee. See, I don't talk about these people's personal lives. I just talk about the numbers. So I'm trying to give you a little background that I don't know. So let me just not. Y'all can do your own research. But Lakewude is born December 12th, 1999, which is a Sunday, making him a psychic exalted number 3, simplified from a 12, and destiny 7, simplified from 34, and a name number 5, simplified from a 32. Love these numbers. He was born in the universal exalted 1 year, simplified from a 28, and the universal exalted 4 month, simplified from a 31. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. His base numbers, his psychic destiny, and name number, they all follow that pattern of 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and having that, it's beautiful. I really love it. And then that emphasis of the one energy with being born on a Sunday, like the numbers are numbering very, very nicely. I really love that that exalted psychic 3. It definitely allows him the space to create. 3 is ruled by Jupiter, a very expansive and creative energy. So it makes complete sense that he's in the industry that he's in, because the numbers sort of were just like, yeah, creative pursuits, I got you. So I'm not really surprised about the industry that he's in, because those numbers definitely naturally help him in those spaces, as well as 3 being very ambitious and expansive. So it gives him a natural ability to be popular or well-liked, because 3 can be very social as well. So I really love that exalted psychic 3. And then with that supplementary 1 and 2, you have that 1 being the sun, 2 being ruled by the moon. 1 being dominant gives an emphasis on potential and possibilities, as well as genius and creative pursuits again. And then 2 being ruled by the moon highlights that connection, the community, love, and just being pulled in together, and also a nurturance, a charismatic energy that's very, very nice to have psychically, because that's it's your internal space. So I feel like he's a good person to be around, good energy, probably also very comical. Me stumbling over the word. Very comical. Because 3 and 5 are very goofy, witty numbers. So it makes sense. I really like this. I really like this 3. This Destiny 7, I really do love this Destiny 7 simplified from a 34. And if you turned into any past episodes, you might be familiar with this Destiny number, because that Destiny number 7 simplified from a 34 is the same Destiny number that J. Cole has. So this could also signify somebody who he might look up to or might resonate with his work or his life story, just because of that exact same destiny number. It doesn't mean that their destiny is the exact same in regards to how it will play out, but there's likely to be a lot of patterns that show up in each of their lives that the other one is like, wait a minute, that happened to me. What do you mean? So I really like this Destiny 7. It highlights a level of independence and also originality. 7 is ruled by Neptune in the South Node, so it also highlights mysticism and spirituality as well, and also mental health. So those things are very prominent for him. And also 7 reflects 3, and 3 being his psychic number and 7 being his destiny number. Balance is very much key, like very much key. So I really want to make sure he's taking care of his mental and his spiritual and his physical, because those are the things that are making shit shake for real. So I really like this. That name number 5, it definitely puts him in a position where wittiness and also like adventure and experiences and just trying shit, very adventurous. That 5 is ruled by Mercury, and that supplementary 3 and 2 add to that, 3 being ruled by Jupiter and 2 being ruled by the moon. So it really allows him to bring people in and connect with a lot of different people from different walks of life, different spaces, and it just really allows him to be different and be unique. Like, all of his numbers allow him a level of uniqueness that I really like. So I'm not really mad at it. I'm not really mad at that. I'm really enjoying it. So looking at all of his numbers, one of the patterns that comes up is the fact that there's threes throughout all of his numbers. That 3 throughout all of his numbers allows this expansiveness, allows this natural popularity, and also social ability, if that's a word, of just he is able to really mold well and work well in social spaces. This also can be a sign of social anxiety because of the same reasons. Because you're so socially adept, you can be a little bit overly socially aware, like hyper aware, sort of kind of in social spaces, of picking up on the little details, which can be overwhelming. And with 3 being ruling over so much space and there being the possibility to do so much, it also gives the opportunity for so much to happen, both good and bad. Now, 3 is ruled by luck, or it rules over luck, so it puts it on a more optimistic side, but it also can not always be that great because of the psychological side. So with all of that good, there also has to be a balance. So there's going to be some good. The highs are going to be high, but the lows can also be very, very low. So it's really important that boundaries are key for him, because especially with that 7 and 3 reflecting each other, numerologically speaking, it puts him in a position where he's more susceptible to experiencing mental and spiritual attacks per se, and also just energetic overwhelm, where he's just where other people's energy are latching onto his because it's so potent and powerful. So I really would say boundaries are very, very much key, and also cleanses regularly. I would order those. Get them on Amazon. But yeah, I really like his numbers. I would say his best numbers are 3, most definitely, because it's in all of his base numbers, in all of his psychic destiny and name. 3 is somewhere in there, whether it's dominant or supplementarily. I love that for him. 1, because not only is he born on a Sunday, but 1 is that beginning of that 3, 5, 7, 9 pattern that he sits within. So I would emphasize that 1 energy, and it also allows there to be just a fresh, clean start without so much chaos, because with these numbers, 3, 5, and 7 sitting in the middle of that numerological pattern, it puts him in a position where a lot of things are internally focused. So there's a heavy emphasis on internalization, because there's a center and not necessarily a beginning and an end. So when you're in that position, you want to make sure you're putting numbers with you to allow yourself some sort of release, because 5 and 7 can be very intellectually focused and very much in their heads. So yeah, they might be some of the smartest people in the room, but they can also be some of the most anxiety prone, because they're overthinking a lot of things. So we want to make sure that there's somewhat of a numerological distraction, if you will, of it just redirection is probably a better word, of it just redirects the energy so it's not so internally and allows it to flow more externally. I would also say 4 for the same reason. Now, 4 and 3 can be a little bit of a jump scare, because 3 is very expansive and 4 is just like, let's fucking go. It does not care if there's a seatbelt involved. We're going is how 4 very much moves. So I feel like it can be a little bit rocky with 3 and 4 together, but if he does regulate that 4 really, really well and pair it with like a 1 or a 9, that can work really, really well for him, which I recommend 9s for him. But I would make sure that, or I want to put an emphasis on making sure that his mental and spiritual and just energetic space is not overwhelmed, because that 9 being ruled by Mars can get very erratic, very reckless, very impulsive, very, very quickly, and we don't really want that. So we want to be mindful of that. I would also say 7 can be okay, but it would put heavy emphasis on regulation for that 7, because like I said, 7 rules mental health. 7 is in his natal numbers, but it does reflect that 3, and it does work well with 5, but also with it being so internalized and withdrawn as a number, it can be a little oofy when putting it in a project number. So if you're gonna put a 7 in there, I would make sure that it's very, very well regulated. But other than that, love 1, 3, 4, and 9 for him, most definitely, but more emphasis on 1 and 3. So looking into his project, the first project we're going to discuss is Kincaid. Hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Can't speak what is happening. But this is the EP that came out October 23rd, 2020. This came out on a Friday. This project has an exalted psychic 5, simplified from that 23, a destiny 1, simplified from a 10, and a name number 8, simplified from a 17. This was released in the universal pure 4 year and a personal 1/10 year, or 1 simplified from a 10 year. I like these numbers a lot. I like them in regards to especially that destiny and personal year number synchronicity. And when we're talking numbers, we want to make sure the things line up. They don't have to line up perfectly, but when there's those subtle synchronicities, that destiny with that personal year, exquisite. Just chef's motherfucking kiss. I honestly love that. So happy with that alignment, because what it does, your destiny number highlights things that are going over a long period of time. And your personal year is basically what your life would look like or the themes that are prominent for that full year. So considering the fact that this was released later in that year, I would imagine that when he experiences a personal 1 year again, possibly that this could be a project that either inspiration is taken from, or it gets a little bit more traction in those 1 years, or even in a 9 year or a 3 year would also do good for that number, or 7, dependent. But yeah, I feel like 1s are really good for him. I love that as a destiny number. That psychic number 5. Now, if you noticed, that's an exalted 5, simplified from a 23. And now he's a name number 5, simplified from a 32. So the numbers just flip. And what I really like about this is that name number puts more emphasis on just creating as a whole, and not really, and like having community and connection being secondary. Whereas with the psychic number, there's a little bit more emphasis on community and connection, and maybe even familial themes, or even experiences that he has, or things where he experienced in a community or in relationships, because two can highlight those themes. So when you're putting that to create this exalted 5, it's taking those experiences and creating something new with it, and sort of analyzing and breaking down what all of this could mean, what all of it entails. And I really like that. I think that's beautiful. Now, this name number 8, I'm not gonna lie. It was a little bit of a jump scare when I first saw it. Now, it is simplified from a 17, which is why it does work for him. If it was simplified from like a 26 or literally any other version of an 8, I would have cried. Especially that 26, it would not have been pretty. I would not like that. I would not like it. But this 17 works really well for him, because he does work. 1 does work really well with him, and then 7 is his destiny number. So that those two numbers creating this 8, it's still going to be a slow moving energy, but it's going to be a little bit more of a comfortable slow moving energy for him. It might have been one of those things where he put out this project and had a lot of hope behind it, or maybe a little bit of optimism behind it with that 1 and that 5, and then the 8 sort of was like, no. No, but I also feel like with that supplementary 7, there's a little bit more of a concern with the mental health themes, because when we look at that 7 interaction, or rather these numbers, his project numbers in interaction with his natal numbers, there's interactions between 2s and 7s, which I personally, it gives me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies, because of when you put 2 and 7 together, both of them are connected to obsession, addiction, and overindulgence. So when you just add those 2 together, it doesn't really not do that. It just builds off that obsessive, off that impulsive, or can sometimes be reckless. And also with 2 also highlighting a level of magnetism, it takes 7s just diving in to every little detail and just makes it bigger. So this can be in good spaces and also bad spaces, but with 7 being ruled by Neptune in the South Node, it typically is things that are withdrawing you or pulling you away from something. So it can be a little bit rough in that accord, but I do like the name number in regards to long-standing things, because 8 is ruled by Saturn. So long-term things, it will probably be okay, but I feel like upon initial release, it might have made it a little bit rocky, just because of that 7 and 2 interaction with his natal numbers. Other than that, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not. It's not the worst thing in the world. So I'm not completely mad at it. Now, this project was released on Friday, and I have personal beef with Fridays and releasing projects on Fridays, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend Fridays for him. So it's not my first choice, but it's okay. We're gonna move on. I would give this rating, I would rate this like a 6 out of 10. I'm not really mad at it. It's not my favorite, but it's also not the worst, especially with the align between the destiny number and the personal year number. I really do like that. So since that's the case, I'm not completely mad at it, but I'm not completely in love with it either. So moving on to the Lake Show, this is another EP, and this came out April 4th, 2021. I don't know why I said it like that. I say 2021, what the fuck? Anyways, this came out on a Sunday. This is a pure psychic 4, a destiny 4 simplified from a 13, and a name number 1 simplified from a 46/a 10. I love these numbers. This is in a personal 2/11 year, or simplified from that 11 year, and then a pure 5 year universally. These base numbers eat. Like, they eat no crumbs. Wow, it's very nice because, listen, 4 is ruled by Uranus in the North Node. It's a very forward-moving, disruptive, we gonna get somewhere. I typically 4s typically have a goal in mind, or an end vision in mind, because they do rule over visionary or just visions in general. So it's very progressive and very forward moving. And when you put this in a project, when you have numbers that work well with 4, it allows you to just get sort of a launch into new spaces. And I love that. I honestly love all of these numbers. I especially love that Destiny 4 simplified from a 13. Now, 1 and 3, 1 being ruled by the Sun, 3 being ruled by Jupiter, work amazing together. 1 allows that potentiality, and 3 allows that space. So literally, damn near anything is possible. So, and also then with 3 rolling over luck, like, come on, like, this shit can be fucking incredible, especially with the forward moving energy of 4. Yeah, it's a wrap. It's just go with that 4 energy. And then that name number 1 simplified from that 46. That 6 is really just sitting there like, okay guys, you got it, just helping all the other numbers along, just like, yeah, go for more. It's really just cheering everybody else on. 6 in regards to this, 6 is ruled by Venus. 6 in regards to this name number is just doing its part in regards to allowing the other numbers to be active, because 6 can be active, but when it's surrounded by other active numbers, it sort of kind of takes a back seat, numerologically speaking, especially energetically. It's just like, okay, I don't necessarily need to move. It's more of a, I just need to allow a level of regulation, which is what it's doing, especially for that 4. So I really love this. It's so nice. And then when looking at the numerological relationship between his natal numbers, 4 is ruled by Uranus in the North Node, 7 is ruled by Neptune in the South Node. So there's this level of polarity. So I wouldn't be surprised if this project was one that shook up his life in a way that he might not even been prepared for, especially long-standing, because of that polarity between 7 and 4. And then you have those 1s in there, and also that supplementary 3 in there. Like, there's just a little bit of sprinkle of his natal numbers throughout, and I love that. And I would hands down give this a 9 out of 10. Like, this is beautiful. Now, with this being a personal 2 year and a universal pure 5 year, there's also an emphasis on reconnecting with communities, or starting new communities, or even thinking about it, because 5 is ruled by Mercury, so the mind and communication and intellectual pursuits, maybe even and also exploring and adventure. So he might have also been exploring and adventuring into maybe new communities, might have moved, might have just tried to build new communities around this time. But overall, love this project's releases. I also love that it was dropped on a Sunday. I love this. I love this. I think this is great. Okay, I'm trying to get through all of these because I was like, it's a lot. Okay, born on a Sunday. This EP. Where are we from? Are we friends? I don't know what happened there. This EP came out November 2nd, 2022. This was a Wednesday. Now this has a pure psychic 2, a destiny 1 simplified from a 10, and a name number 4 simplified from a 49/13. Now, loving the destiny and the name number, I have a little bit of beef with 2s for him because of that mental health impact that 2 and 7 can have. And then also 2 and 3 together, for him also can have that same effect, and then same again with 2 and 5. So I would not make 2 a dominant number for him. Now, granted, his personal year prior was a 2, so I would say that it was not horrible, but it could have also been very impactful. But considering that 2 was simplified from an 11, it was probably a little bit more bearable and a little bit more in his favor. Now, with this being a pure 2, this is just pure lunar energy, and that's not anything that he has natally. Now, he does have 2s supplementary in his base numbers, so it's not like it's a foreign energy. It's just not an energy that I'd like to magnetize within the rest of his numbers, because it puts him in a position where any of that internalization that his numbers naturally do, that 2 was taking that and being like, okay, let's keep doing this. Let's keep going deeper within, more within. And it's like, it just keeps going, and it might not be so fun. Now, granted, that 2 can give a little bit more of an emphasis on creativity. So in all of this introspection and in all of this going in deep, the art that comes from it is probably incredible, but also longstanding and mental health wise, this can be very detrimental. So we don't really want to do that too much. It can be fine, like maybe once in a while, but it would not be my first choice. Now, with it being a pure 2, it does give it a emphasis on how people feel, or just how he may feel. As it's like having a project with a psychic 2 is probably very true to the creative's emotional state or emotional state. Did I say emotional state or emotional state? Child, creative state or emotional state. I don't know what I said, but it can be very true to that. And also allowing a level of authenticity and just a level of freedom as well, because that lunar energy can be very authentic and true to one's emotions. So it's not all bad. My concern is more on the mental health side of things. So it just is not my first choice. But, moving on. Loving the Destiny 1. Again, that 1 simplified from that 10, 1 being ruled by the sun, 0 being ruled by Pluto. Love it. I love it, because 0 is one of those complex numbers that doesn't have a lot of research behind it as much as it should, especially in comparison to the other numbers. But 0 being ruled by Pluto, it intensifies, it amplifies, and it transforms. So this could highlight the fact that this project, after its release, could have been a transition or a very transformational project for him, or even highlighting a transformation that he was going through, especially with him being in a personal exalted 3 year, which I actually don't even think I said the years. This is a universal pure 6 year, and then a personal exalted 3 year simplified from that 12, and that personal exalted 3 lining up with his psychic number. Beautiful. So a very impactful year. So I really like this Destiny 1 with that 0, or with that 1 and that 0 together, because of that transformational aspect and also amplifying aspect. So we have 1 allowing this space for creativity, allowing this space for a start, for a beginning, just something to move forward with, and then also allowing the space to do that, and then 0 is just taking that and magnetizing off of it. So I'm honestly in love with that. Absolutely love that. And then this name number 4, you have simplified from a 49 and a 13. Absolutely beautiful. We love it. Because that 4 and 9, see, I'm a lover of chaos. That 4 and 9 is very chaotic. And then you add that minor supplementary number of that 13. It's screaming chaos. I love chaos. So it's not necessarily bad in my eyes, but it can go south very quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if just impulsivity, recklessness, headaches, even just erraticness is the vibe that might be embodied in this project, or might have been the aftermath of the release of this project. So it's not all good, necessarily speaking, but I'm not mad at it. It's okay. We're getting through it. We're gonna be okay. And then that 4 mixed with that personal 3 number, and then also personal 3 year, and then his psychic 3, that also adds a level of erratic nature and also a level of instability. So it's chaotic, but I feel like 4 always has a destination in mind, or I won't say always has a destination in mind. it knows it's supposed to get somewhere, and it will get you there by any means. So it might have been a wild ride, but we might be okay now, considering that now, in 2023, it's in a personal 4 year, which leads us to Kirkwude. Also, I didn't give my rating. For Born on a Sunday, I would give this a 7 out of 10. Don't really like that too, but we already talked about it. We're gonna let it go. 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 Everything else, I'm here for it. Everything else, I'm here for. That 2 just makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but we're gonna keep it pushing. Now, being in a personal 4 year now, we're not really getting a break, energetically speaking. We're just still on this go train that we've been on for probably like the past 3-ish years. Kirkwude was released 4/20 of this year, so April 20th, 2023, which was a Thursday. I do like Thursdays for him, giving it a Psychic 2 simplified from a 20, a Destiny 4 simplified from a 13, and a name and number 1 that is exalted simplified from a 28. This is the Universal Pure 7 year, and a personal 4/13 year, or simplified from a 13. I enjoy these numbers, minus that 2. Now, granted, the 2 is not a pure 2. It's a 20, so it's a little different. She has a little different of a different spice, a little different of a flavor. But 0 being ruled by Pluto and 2 being ruled by the moon, that intensify. What is the word I'm looking for? Intensification, if that's a word. Intensification is what we're gonna go with. Of that 2 energy. Now 2 already magnetizes, and 0 amplifies, so it's just getting bigger. So I feel like, and also this is a collab project. These are not all of the numbers of the project, just because I don't have the other artists' natal numbers. So we're getting only a partial bit of the story. But in regards to how this 20 is interacting with his numbers, I feel like it could have been better. It's not the worst thing. It's just more emphasis on energetic manipulation is probably the best way to put it, because that Psychic 2 in a Universal 7 year, and then him being in a personal 4 year, that polarity between 4 and 7, and then also the natal reflection between 3 and 7, and then his Psychic 3 reflecting this Universal 7 year. There's a lot of beams of balance at play, which 2 does rule over. Now for him, 2 is not the best one to emphasize that balance, in my personal opinion, just because it puts him more in an introspective space, which his numbers already naturally do, and I don't really want to put more of that. We want to make sure when we're releasing a project, we're allowing the project to breathe and have sort of a life of its own, because it does have its own numbers. So that 2, it does put an emphasis on relationships and community and connection, which is great. We love it. Also empathy, security, safety, all of that stuff. But it's not really helping. I don't feel like it's really helping. I feel like this sort of kind of throws him into a category that I don't really know how to describe energetically, that it just sort of kind of feels weird. It's like, it's a different territory. It's a little bit just like something's different here. Don't really know what it is, but something smell weird type. But it has a Destiny 4/13, which I love. Which I also noticed that out of the projects that I picked of his, we're going through a Destiny pattern of 1 simplified from a 10, and then a 4 simplified from a 13, and a 1 simplified from a 10, and the 4 simplified from a 13, which I love patterns, if you couldn't tell, since I do numerology, but I digress. I think that this 4/13 is another project that puts him in a position where it's launching him somewhere, and it's just very much along for the ride type shit. So whatever he puts out after this, I do hope there's an emphasis on 1s and 3s, because that would be a great numerological follow-up for this project. Now, this name number Exalted 1, I love Exalted number 1s, but I don't know how I necessarily feel about them for him, because with that 2 and 8, those are 2 numbers that reflect each other again. He has a natal reflection between that 3 and that 7. And I feel like putting too many reflections in regards to numerological relationality, it can overwhelm the native really quickly. So this might have been a project, especially with that Psychic 2 of this project, this might have been a project that though he put out, it might not have been his favorite in the world, but he was just like, okay, let me just get it done type shit. There's not the same level of authenticity per se, or numerological authenticity, if that makes sense. The destiny number is still true to him, but I feel like the name and the psychic number sort of kind of lean more into probably the other people's energy. So I don't know. Not my favorite drop. I would probably give this a 6 out of 10, but it's okay. It's okay. I feel like whatever he puts out next, which actually his album comes out July 12th, I want to say, which I already love the 12th. Personally, I already love the 12th. So I have high hopes for this drop. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, I would give Kirkwude a 6 out of 10 just because I feel like it's not working for him as well as it could. It's not the worst thing ever, but also it's not the best thing ever. So yeah, I'm not really mad at this, but I would definitely say putting a lot more emphasis on 3s and 1s in regards to his projects in the future, considering the consistency of 3 in his base numbers, and then 1 giving just a fresh new energy each and every time. But I'd put an emphasis on those, but I'd also be mindful of using 4s and 9s. I do like 4s for him, and I do like 9s for him, but they can get really out of hand really, really quickly. So like I said, 4 likes to drive without a seatbelt. Kids, please strap in. We going somewhere. We don't know where we're going, but we going somewhere. So I would say be mindful of that. And 9 can have that same energy because it is ruled by Mars. So it's just on this driving force type beat. And that can also be very erratic and reckless and impulsive. So yeah, being mindful of that. And I also would avoid 2s, which I won't go on to another rant. We're going to move on. We're going to let go. But yes, I hope you enjoyed this. So make sure you share your thoughts with me on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, and tag me at YourSoulLab or at Numbers with Ishikari. And obviously share this with Lakewude and his fans, because what else would you do? And then also, this episode of the Dissection is inspired by my personal services, a personal numerology breakdown, and also a you and your career reading. But this is, ironically enough, just the tip. This is just the beginning. We're not even really getting into the nitty-gritty just yet. So yeah, this is really a teaser of those services, but for all of my services, head over to yoursoulaboratory.com. And yeah, thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.